All right, I got to start with a confession to you guys, Carano, Turtle Boy. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
I got to get this off my chest. Sometimes, we make mistakes and we try to hide them. I don't want to hide this. It was I drank too much one night. I know you find that hard to believe. One night, and I got in the car. I knew I shouldn't have. I got in the car. I needed more beer, so I got in the car and. On my way to the package store, I crossed the yellow line. It happens, and I hit this little minivan, and I killed a family of 5. I mean, well, not family of 5, 4 of them. I killed the baby's still alive on life support, but I want to move on because that was like 4 days ago. It was 4 days ago, guys. I mean, it was 5 days ago. 5 days ago. So, I mean,
I was wondering what you were getting at there, Jerry.
We all make, it was a long time. Let's be honest. Eventually we have to move on. I mean, it was 4 days ago. Haven't you guys ever made a mistake? It's in the past now. We're moving on.
Yeah, I want to get 4 or 5, maybe 5.
The Red Sox got swept by the Yankees. The Redskins have going to have a new nickname. My man Jack Morris, I told you, he's suspended indefinitely. He's going to sensitivity training. We got more important things to get to. So can we just put that behind us?
Yes. Stop asking me the one question about it, and so we can move on.
Can I just say that I was wrong. I was wrong about this. I said this is a setup. This interview with Joe Biden and his friend George Stephanopoulos, it was choreographed. It was set up. He knew what the questions were coming, and he still couldn't handle it.
Blew it.
Here's how I know that today will be another disaster for the Biden administration, because there are no other options. He is incapable of doing anything right, of cleaning up a mess, of even conducting a one-on-one interview with an old friend who was there to help. They prepared him. They recorded it. It wasn't live. Every question he got, he knew what was coming, and he still couldn't handle it. And to me, I say this all the time, you guys, the people behind the scenes, whether it's Jen Psaki or Ron Klain or Barack Obama or Susan Rice or Jill Biden, Dr. Jill, just must be so without hope. It must feel so hopeless. They set this up. They dress him like he's a corpse, and they're the funeral director. Put the tie on, brush the hair, put the makeup on, put him in a chair, say, "You remember George, don't you, Joe?" George, yeah, George. Yeah, I remember. Hey, George. Hi, George. Okay, George is going to ask you about the people falling from the planes. He has to do it, Joe. I'm sorry, he has to do it. It's a question everyone wants to know. What was your reaction when you saw these refugees so desperate to get out of this chaos that you created, that they're hanging to the wheels and the wings of our airplanes, and they're falling to their deaths? So he's going to ask you that. Here's what you say. You say, "It's heartbreaking. I feel awful for them. We're going to do our best to get our people out." Just give them some cliches. The media will do the rest. They're there to carry your water. They're there to help, Joe. But George, as you know, he loves you.
He's on your side.
He's on your side. He's on your team. He's there to help. So just play along. And he says, okay, play along. And then they sit him down, and he mentions this iconic image, which will be part of America.
Yeah, just like people jumping from the towers.
Part of
Same
history.
thing.
Just like the people going up the embassy in Vietnam, in 1975 to get out of Saigon. Just like, you're right, people jumping from the towers. Just like, the naked girl in Vietnam running frantically down the street.
It's Ben Monk who set himself on fire in Vietnam.
There are iconic photos that sometimes define a generation. They certainly define a presidency. This is on Joe Biden, and there's nothing he can do about it except maybe show a little compassion, show some concern. He gave the most incredibly callous, mindless, idiotic answer you could give. He dismissed it as old news, essentially, right? That's what he did. He dismissed it. Hold on 1 second. He dismissed it as old news, and I can't imagine a bigger mistake. If you're his handler, if you're his choreographer, which is what his people are doing, if you're propping up this feeble old man, hoping to just get him through a 10-minute interview. Could there be a worse answer? I mean, I guess he could have said, "Who gives a shit?" He could have said that.
I
right?
didn't know why he's not answering any questions after these press conferences. You just see his bald. I didn't know he was so bald, by the way. Walking away, he just goes out there. I mean, at least the Taliban will talk to you a little bit. I mean, I got to be honest. Am I a traitor if I'm kind of like borderline Team Taliban right now? Like, they seem a lot more appealing. They don't want to kick me off of social media. They don't think I'm a white supremacist. I kind of like their fashion sense. I mean, I'd like to go shopping in Afghanistan. It's just, do you want to go with the brown muumuu today or the black one?
As far as I could see, as far as I could tell, Turtle Boy, they've only killed one woman who wouldn't cover her face. And I expected a lot more carnage, 5 days after they took the country. But here's the most amazing part. We're going to play the answer because I'm telling you, this will live forever. Joe Biden will be long gone. I mean, the whole administration will be long gone. And there will be 20, 30, 50 years from now, news program, podcast to radio show. Well, I hope any radio shows, those will be gone. And people will say, remember the day Joe Biden dismissed that epic, that iconic image of people jumping from the plane and said, it's a long time. Here's the most amazing part.
You got to play the clip, Jerry. Play the clip.
I'm setting it up. It was only 2 days ago. It was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
From when he said it. 2. It wasn't 5.
It was like 36 hours.
It was
like, they're ahead of us. They're like a day ahead of us.
They haven't found all the parts of that body that got destroyed, from the jet engine yet. They don't even know who it was that fell from the plane yet. And this buffoon is saying it was a long time ago, but enough. Okay, let's play the clip that will dog him forever, haunt him forever, and we'll be listening to it, hearing it, talking about it forever.
We've all seen the pictures. We've seen those hundreds of people packed into a C-17. We've seen Afghans falling.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
What did you think when you saw those pictures?
What I thought was we have to gain control of this. We have to move this more quickly.
Okay, here's if you're, again, Ron Klain or whoever, Dr. Jill, you were saying, what the hell is he saying? All he had to do was say, it broke my heart. It hurt. It's sad. It's awful. And these people, I feel so bad for these people, but the next but, and you move on. That was 4 or 5. This guy actually believes it's old news. People falling from the plane is old news. It was 2 days.
Well, he's on like a 12-hour schedule. Like he gets up, he works for about 2 hours, goes back to bed for 10 hours, gets up. So his days are actually shorter than ours.
He has some serious anger management issues, this guy. Like with the press, people are like, Trump's mean. At least Trump will play with you a little bit. Biden just gets so mad at Caitlin Collins, like CNN people, at George Steph. What are you yelling at them for? Like you said, these are your friends. These are your allies. What are you doing, Joe? Be nice. Calm down.
They're on your team, Joe. Here's the most amazing thing is, and I say this all the time, 50 years in the public eye in Washington, in politics, 36 or whatever in the Senate, 8 years vice president, now he's president. Here's the problem you have when you've lived the life he's lived, when the media has spent your whole life kissing your ass, rubbing your feet, helping you, is any question that's slightly hostile, slightly adversarial, annoys him. It's like, what are you doing to me? I'm Joe Biden. You're here to help. So George Stephanopoulos, an old friend, does what he's supposed to do. Actually asks a good question. It wasn't even a good question. It was an obvious question.
Yeah, he had to ask it.
And this grumpy old man can't handle it. You're right. He has anger issues. He looks annoyed anytime they ask any kind of question.
Jerry, he doesn't want to talk about this. He wants to talk about the vaccine. That actually happened yesterday. They're like, we're having a big press conference. Okay, let's see what Biden's going to say. He came on and talked about masks in school. Like, that's what you're lecturing me about, masks in school? Why don't you do something about like thousands of Americans trapped behind American lines, you big dummy?
And now I've seen it's more than 10. I've seen 10 to 15.
10 to 15. Quick correction on you, Turtle Boy. As I pointed out the other day, press conferences include the press. They include questions. He doesn't do press conferences. He does statements, and then he turns tail and runs. like a coward. He's afraid that Yamichi might ask a tough question. He's afraid,
It's
that
a tough one.
Caitlin Collins. It is the contrast with Trump is striking. Even Trump's worst enemies have to admit he would have the guts to stand there and take questions. He would be doing, Trump right now, if he were president, would be doing a 3-hour press conference every day, just like he did when COVID was raging. He would sit there. He would have generals, perhaps this a-hole Milley next to him, and Austin, whoever, I don't know, Pence, whoever would be up there with him. But he'd be taking question after question to prove that he was accountable, to prove that he was tough enough to do the job. It is remarkable that we have a president who's talking about the cowardice of the Afghan soldiers, the Afghan army, and questioning the commitment of Afghan politicians when
Not
he
enough
doesn't.
is being made about that, by the way.
When
Not
he
enough.
doesn't have the balls, he doesn't have the balls to take a question again from Yamichi from NPR, or that idiot from Playboy, that Brian Caron, whatever his name is. Yeah, Caron doesn't have the balls to take a question from these sycophants, and he's questioning the courage of others. I don't care who you're talking about. This guy doesn't have an ounce of courage in his body. It's pathetic that this is our leader. And you're right. He does. And this is a political calculation. Whoever his political strategist is behind the scenes said, we have to distract everybody. Go out there and talk about DeSantis. Go out there and take the side of the teachers and the school boards that want to mask up children, for theater. They've decided that I don't know if it's a winning issue, but it's a distracting issue. Let's go out there and make this about kids and masks and going back to school and booster shots. It is amazing that he went out there. Obviously, he's not going to take a question because they wouldn't ask about booster shots. The first question would be, there are 10,000 Americans stranded. You're prioritizing, foreigners, Afghans, and other refugees who stormed fought their way onto the plane. You're getting them out, but you're doing nothing about American citizens who pay taxes. I mean, your job is to protect Americans. It was an amazing interview with Stephanopoulos, topped only by the press conference with Austin and Milley, when the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the Secretary of Defense, looked into the cameras and lied their asses off over and over again. These are deceitful, dishonest people.
What were they doing? Like, I put more thought into moving out of an apartment than Joe Biden did to moving out of Afghanistan. There was literally no plan. It's like, maybe you can't call them up, like you said in your show a week ago. Be like, hey guys, we're gonna bounce. So you might want to get over here. You don't want to get caught. Taliban's coming. Might want to get here quickly. There was none of that. It's just like, all right, one day we're out. Did they not have gates at the airport? Are there not men with guns to prevent people from jumping onto planes? Like, what the hell is happening?
Here's what the timetable should have been. Everybody obviously wants out of Afghanistan. There's no disputing that. We all agree. Get out.
Well, except for Bill Kristol.
Except for Liz Cheney and Mitt
Yeah.
Romney. But anyway, the plan should have been this simple. We get out when all the Americans who want out get to the airport and get on a C-17. There's 10,000, maybe half say they were getting out, maybe half have, Afghan brides and they're comfortable there and they feel like, their
Life under the Taliban will be fun.
Yeah, they could, the Taliban needs, auto mechanics or AC, HVAC people or whatever as well. So, or maybe they're charity, NGO people or, feeding the poor and they want to stay and take their chances. Fine, but that's fine. They can stay. They might end up hostages, but they could stay. The idea that you would do this before notifying every American that you're going to do this, because let's be honest, it wasn't a big surprise. Every president, since Bush has been talking about getting out, and finally we're ready to get out. The plan was in place. It's all Trump's fault. He made the plan. But why would you ever do it before every American was given a chance to get out? It's so bizarre. But hold on. This answer could have been, even worse. Well, there's nothing worse than saying 4 days ago.
No.
Nothing. But he actually says, I just wrote it down, that it couldn't have been handled. He answers the question, but couldn't it have been handled better? And he says, no, it could not have been handled any better.
I think that's the end of this clip. Hold on.
We've all seen it.
And we did.
So you don't think this could have been handled? This actually could have been handled better in any way? No mistakes?
No, I don't think it could have been handled in a way that we're going to go back in hindsight and look. But the idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing. I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that happened.
So for you, that was always priced into the decision?
Yes.
Oh God.
I don't know how that happened. It's killing. He said, first he said, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that happened. It's like his mush brain
That's
kind of
good.
took over and then said
good.
happens. Oh, I know how it happens. You didn't plan, you botched it, Joe.
By the way, Stephanopoulos tweeted that answer out and took out the no. He has the whole answer without the word no. So he's showing Jill that he's still trying to help, but this guy's beyond help. That was amazing. We have images of chaos and we know Americans are trapped. Hostage situations are coming. You're right, Turtle Boy, that the Taliban has been on their best behavior for 4 or 5 days, but that ain't going to last. There's a great 4-minute piece from this Clarissa Ward, who's doing an amazing job. She's the idiot who said that they were friendly but yelling death to America. And she took a lot of crap for that, but you got to give her credit. She's in the middle. He's in the belly of the beast. She's a good-looking woman who switched wardrobes. Now she's got the hijab, and she's walking around the streets of Kabul, and they've got these Taliban guys with whips. So if you're violating anything, your mask slips down. It's kind of like what they do in Australia now. If your mask slips down, they whip you, and they're going to do in New York.
Watch me whip. And do they have any nays with them? I don't know. But no, it's a joke. It's a joke.
She's there, and it's scary. You're expecting they've got AK-47s and whips, and there's going to be real death and real destruction soon, and that'll make it worse. And Joe Biden will say, "Yeah, but that was a long time. That was days ago." It's hard to imagine how we could do it any worse. That's the answer to the question. Do you think it could be handled any better? The answer is, could it have been handled any worse? Is there any way you could have done that? I mean, leaving 10,000 Americans, what when that came up in the meeting?
Why are they on Twitter? I understand that, so let me get this straight. Trump was kicked off of Twitter for fomenting insurrection that involved a bunch of grandmothers taking selfies in Nancy Pelosi's office. But this is an actual insurrection that worked, and they're allowed on there. So you're allowed to overthrow it. If you're going to do an insurrection on social media, it has to be successful. Is that the lesson we're learning here?
Yeah, that's it. And they're not, by the way, they're on probation here. Jack Dorsey said they're on Twitter until they start, quote, glorifying violence.
Oh,
Taliban.
They
Taliban.
never do that. So
he's warned them. You start glorifying violence, Taliban, you're out. You're off. By the way, Carano follows their
I was
PR.
forced yesterday. I did send him a little message.
How often does he tweet? Is he one of those annoying people that tweets every 5 minutes?
Sahil Shaheen is who we're talking about. 18 hours. He had a thread. No, just a couple times a day, it looks like.
Really? How many followers is he up to?
Oh, he was 300 something yesterday. It's 369 today.
369.
Did not respond to my invitation to have him on yesterday.
You know what he's going to do? He's going to start plugging products like a Kardashian, My Pillow or something. He's going to start.
Yeah. Does he have a My Pillow code? I want to see the Taliban My Pillow code.
So Turtle Boy gets kicked off every year or two, but the Taliban is cool. The Taliban's okay. Turtle Boy, who exposes GoFundMe frauds on Facebook, he gets booted off. Taliban's cool.
Well, they don't have white rage, Jerry.
That's true.
I have white rage.
We're going to get to that guy. We're going to get to. I see. My whole life, I don't know. I'm obviously been around longer than either of you guys. I just have this kind of inherent, trust in the military, faith in the military. Maybe it's a mistake because I'm, just a right-wing troglodyte, and I look at the military and I think that's something this country's done right. It's a meritocracy for the most part. It's colorblind for the most part. It makes us all feel safe. The U.S. military. Every day now, I'm losing faith in the U.S. military. And again, it's certainly not the
No, this
guys.
is on the general level and
Right.
the administration level.
Absolutely. And I know it's a cliche now, but the guys on the ground, the boots on the ground, the guys who are actually doing the fighting or doing the training, they didn't lose this war. This was lost by by politicians and generals, but I'm repeating myself because this Milley is just a political hack, as he showed when he was at that hearing, the Senate hearing, when he started saying, I want to understand white rage, and explaining why he reads Ibrahim Kendi, and I also read Lenin and Marx and, Mao. I mean, he's just a political hack. He sounded like a college professor just trying to keep his job. It is, and they are totally unaccountable. We just lost a war. Essentially, our longest war and our most humiliating defeat to an enemy that had no airplanes, had no helicopters, had no technology. These barbarians from the 6th century just beat the U.S. military in the last 20 years, and nobody pays with their job. Nobody gets demoted. As we said before, if a private loses his rifle, he gets kicked out of the military. If a general loses the war, he gets like an extra star. He retires and gets a job at Raytheon for $1 million a year. These guys do nothing but fall up. And this guy, Milley, is the best example of all. Here's what he did yesterday. And I don't know if you guys watched it, but this guy and Austin together are it's a comedy team. They just take turns lying to the American public, and they do it so comfortably. It's not surprising that he survived this long. But Milley literally says, neither he nor anyone else saw this coming. This quick collapse of the Afghan army and the country, didn't see it coming, which is just absurd. We think of how false that is, how utterly ridiculous it is that you would say a general in the U.S. Army didn't see it coming. We have been on the ground with these Afghan soldiers for 20 years. We've trained them. We've watched them. Just as observers, we know how we've heard the stories about they can't read, they can't count, they can't do jumping jacks. They don't. Their heart is not in it. This fight. The idea that they were going to stand and fight and defeat the Taliban was folly, and everyone knew it. This general knew absolutely 100% that the Afghan army was not going to hold for more than a couple of weeks. Maybe, the fact that it was a couple of days was a little surprising.
A little shocking.
But there is no way he thought they were going to hold up and defeat the Taliban. He knew the moment we pulled out, it was essentially over, and he just lied. He just lied without thinking twice to the public, to the people, and said, nobody saw this coming.
And I know I sent you, I texted you the tweet yesterday of CIA specialist who was on the Osama bin Laden, like finding Osama bin Laden case. His name is Michael Schur.
Yeah.
He was on with Majid Nawaz. Sometimes I watch his program. A month ago, right when Joe Biden was saying there's absolutely no chance that the Taliban will take over, he's going on air at the same time saying there is absolutely no chance the Taliban does not take over if we pull out.
And Milley knew.
And Milley doesn't know.
Taliban, what were they doing? Are they just hiding behind a mountain, waiting?
Well, they would know. They were slowly.
Wait.
They were slowly capturing, towns and cities and villages and moving towards taking over the whole country.
Right.
20 years ago, they didn't control the whole country. This is the first time they've controlled the whole country. They've made great strides in the last 20 years as the U.S. military has been on the ground training the Afghan army. And I realized the Afghan army is pathetic. But the idea that our general didn't 100% know that is absurd. And if he's going to lie that brazenly, what else is he lying about? I mean, everything? Does the guy just stand up there and lie every day?
He's a politician. They all lie.
Did you see, either of you guys see Laura Logan last night? She going on with Tucker, one of those long conversations. And she is smart, man, but she lived in Afghanistan, and she laid out the case of how we knew exactly what was going to happen. She talks about, the NSA collects, obviously they got video satellites and everything else. And they knew 100% that they were preparing the Taliban to take over because they knew the supply lines coming into, there's only like one major supply line coming in from Pakistan. They knew they were loading up, with men, with guns, with the supplies. They knew 100% that this was going to happen the minute we pulled out. Milley knew it. Austin knew it. Biden, again, Biden gets a pass because, he doesn't know what's going on, at all anyway. But everyone else in D.C., everyone else in the Pentagon knew this was going to happen, and they did it anyway. It's one of the most incredible. I don't know which one of these, New York, these DC insiders is going to write the book, because obviously most of them are supportive, but like Bob Woodward or Michael Wolff, or which one of them is going to write how this all played out in the days leading up to the surrender, the days leading up to the fall of Kabul. But there has to be some moment where with Biden, I guess, Biden just overrules everyone and said, no, we're doing it anyway. I need a win. We're pulling out. And they explained to him how it would be a disaster, and he didn't care. Is that how it went?
I think that the generals are just incompetent. Or they can't. When's the last time we won a war?
1945.
Gulf War doesn't count. 91, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Those are Grenada, maybe one of those. But bottom line, I think it's Joe Biden is not running the country. Why are we believing that Joe Biden is in charge of anything, that he's making any decisions? He's literally, his entire presidency is just a coalition of what experts tell him. His entire coronavirus thing is whatever Fauci tells him. His entire foreign policy thing is whatever these woke dumbass generals tell him. That's it. He's just like, whatever, I will do whatever the experts tell. That's what he ran on. That was his brand. He's coming as advertised.
All right, here's Jack Posobiec tweeted this out, and it just made me laugh out loud. This was after the Stephanopoulos thing, which is, I think, airing in its entirety today. Those were excerpts. I mean, if those are the highlights, man, he's in trouble. And after the general's press conference, Biden is telling his staff that he wants to go back to Delaware. Hasn't been sleeping well. Thinks he will be more functional if he stays over at his home in Wilmington. He's going back on vacation. Like today, he's heading
They
back.
not have nice beds in the White House.
Yeah, they definitely. Well, they used to have MyPillows, but they don't anymore. They got rid of them. That's probably his problem. But it is remarkable. He is not fit for the office. He is not up for the job. We all
know it, and they have to know it.
But we joked about it mostly for 6 months, but now I think the joke is over.
Now it's real. I mean, there's enough tragedy in the world between COVID and the stuff that's going on in the Middle East. Like, he's exposed. It's completely exposed.
Are they talking about are they having the same conversation on MSNBC?
No, he's starting to lose.
He's not exposed.
He's starting to lose some support. CNN has been covering. Obviously, Clarissa Ward's doing amazing work, and they are reporting on the chaos. They're going to report soon on dead Americans or Americans taken hostage. I mean, they got all that footage of them passing babies over the fence at the airport. The images are devastating if you're a Biden supporter, because let's be honest, it's on you. If you voted for this guy, it's on you. We knew he wasn't up for the job. We knew he never even campaigned. He hid in his basement and let the media do the campaigning for him. We saw how overmatched he was, out of his league he was in the debates. That's just nothing surprising here. We knew he was cognitively diminished. We knew the job was really, really hard and stressful, and he wasn't going to be able to handle it. And now it didn't take long. It's only been 6-7 months. But now maybe it's worse than we thought, because he's making these big, big decisions like, let's leave Afghanistan and leave our people there. And then he's trying to clean up the mess with Steffi, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. But do we have Millie explaining how he never saw this coming? Tell me the million, whatever, every serviceman, every Marine, and every person in the military wasn't looking at this and laughing. They know that he knew what was going to happen. They know we have amazing intelligence, and he had the reports in his hand when this all went down. He knew exactly what's going to happen.
You know what his job approval rating is right now, Jerry?
Biden or Millie?
I guess my whole point here is, like, it's just us talking about this. He's got a +5 approval rating in Politico this morning. I just checked it. So, like, it's not working. Like, other people are not, like, we have two different Americas, Jerry. I mean, of course we do. We have America where people think men can be women, and fact is fiction and nonsense. And then we have reality. We're on team reality, and half the country is not. So it doesn't matter. All the ridiculousness you see from Biden, none of this matters. None of it matters. They are going to ride this out. It doesn't matter how delusional he gets. It doesn't matter how many of these massive, massive screw-ups we get. None of it matters.
Well, I think it will. And I think it does. First of all, I think it does more than you think, because it just keeps getting worse. And the people in the middle, there's not many, but the 10% in the middle. I mean, you got a guy like Carano. He's not a Trumpkin like you and me. And I'm looking at this in amazement at the incompetence. And it could get a lot worse. I know I'm repeating myself, but when there are hostages, when there are dead Americans, I think it's going to wake up a lot of people, and they're going to say, "Man, how did we allow this guy? How did we
rooting
hand
for hostages? Is that what we want?
What was that?
Will that help us?
No, I mean, it's not going to help us. I don't think what are you going to have the election all over again? I mean, either he's the president or Kamala Harris is.
True.
I don't know which is worse. There's no good option until 2024, unfortunately. But if there are 10,000 Americans who've yet to make it to the airport, and there was an amazing report, I forget who had it. I'm just overloaded now. And it was a email from a American in Kabul. And they said their only option is to wait by the window, by the door, and pick a time and run for it. It is literally like one of these movies like Argo or The Year of Living Dangerously, as I mentioned yesterday, where they just have to run for it and hope they can get on a plane. And if they don't, they could end up like, the hostages in Iran. They could end up being held for years by the Taliban, being held at gunpoint. By the way, the guns are ours that the Taliban is using. The guns, the weapons, they're ours. And that is something no president can recover from. Jimmy Carter couldn't. There was no way. You get hostages on TV, and it's over.
Well, the Biden administration has been giving stern warnings to the Taliban, saying you have to let our people out. Those stern warnings that carry so much threat behind it now.
Yes.
Has anybody asked at these press conferences for the Taliban what their pronouns are?
No,
will they respect pronouns?
Well, you saw the State Department. I forget which guy it is. They're all incompetent. That guy, Jake Sullivan, NSA guy, the National Security Advisor, is incredibly incompetent and just overwhelmed and nervous and weak. How these people ascend to that level when they can't even answer questions from a friendly media is beyond me. It's embarrassing listening to Jake Sullivan. But I think it was a State Department guy who said, and this kind of went viral, they hope that the Taliban, the government, is more inclusive and I don't think they said diverse, but there's more inclusive and includes women. I'm going, what? Do you know who you're talking about? They act like they're talking about, some, French, a new president of France or something. And we're talking about the Taliban, who cuts hands off of petty thieves and stones women for going outside without a veil, without a hijab. I mean, they're primitive people, and they're proud of it. They're not pretending to be anything other than what they are.
Well, they're working the media too. So Suhal Shaheen here was asked, like, how what will women's role? We're worried about women's role in Afghanistan when the Americans pull out, and he says, well, women will have a big role, in Afghanistan going forward, according to
So the answer is, women will have a role as laid out by Sharia law, or according to Sharia law, which means women will have no role. In other words, right?
Yes, yeah.
They will be home. They can't drive. They can't go to school. They can't work. They can't show their faces. And when they're 9 years old, they're going to marry some 70-year-old guy and be like his 12th wife. That's how it's going to work. And it doesn't matter how inclusive, CNN or the Biden administration wants them to be. They are what they are.
Did you hear the woman Air Force pilot, Afghan Air Force pilot, who was pleading with the administration to take the women and families out of Afghanistan?
They don't even let the women go to the airport. You saw that C-17 had 640 people on it, like 620.
Who was opening the door? Who was the one letting these people on? Like, let's let all the able-bodied fighting men get on this plane. Yeah,
get out.
Who?
I assume it's certainly not like a flight attendant from Spirit Airlines or even American or Delta, because they would never allow that. They just let them in and they storm the thing. How many of them? I mean, talk about no vetting. What if there are a couple of terrorists on there?
A couple?
Jihadists.
It's Afghanistan, Jerry. It's like 1 in 10. Of course, there's going to be a bunch of terrorists that came over here. Are you kidding me?
And
why wouldn't they?
You see these 30-year-old men with other 30-year-old men, and you just know there's like a wife or maybe 6 wives at home and 12 kids, and they just leave them. And we're supposed to be
a new husband.
We're supposed to open our doors to them and say, "Come on, you helped us." Are we sure? I mean, some helped us, but are we sure they all helped us?
Well, to be fair, I think that's
what helped us. What helped us? What?
Helped us interpret things. When we interrogated prisoners or whatever. I don't know. Helped us
interpreters.
Helped us create your country. Now it's here. It's yours.
Well, after we bombed the shit out of their country, to be
Yeah,
fair.
but why do we do that? Because they harbored terrorists.
Yes,
They
but no.
harbored-
But
no, that's at
wait,
some
you
point-
can't. No, you were on the other side of this.
We didn't bomb
Hold on.
them.
You and I agreed on this before. Like the idea of going into Afghanistan to take out the terrorist threats, so the terrorist camps. I'm in favor of that, just like
course,
you
Not
were.
me.
But not
me.
invading the country and taking over the country. So you have to have both sides of that. If we're going to destabilize their country, we do.
What kind of libertarian are you?
What do you mean?
You're in favor of bombing countries?
No, I'm saying that's a
Training
reasonable. No, that's a reasonable show of force. If you know these people attacked the towers, then you can go and respond accordingly to that, but not just march in and take over the country. That's not.
Have you
Just
played?
this idea that like we have to go in there and take them out because that's where they plotted 9/11 from, as if they can't plot it from Oman or Qatar or some other desert out there. Who cares where they plotted it from? Terrorists are gonna plot. It is what it is. Just don't
if
let
you
them
know
bomb
it-
the country.
Well, so what? I mean, if you know they have a training camp, then you blow it up. I'm not saying you send in ground troops.
Why? They'll just go to another. They'll build another one.
Well, then they'll blow up another one. What are you going to just say?
Oh, so he's gonna keep bombing them? What kind of shit is this?
Yes,
You
you
got bombed
bomb,
here, Jerry. My kid's in a mask. I don't care
you-
about bombing these places. My kid's in a
you
mask.
bomb every terrorist training camp, especially the ones where they planned and plotted the attack, the most devastating attack on U.S. soil ever. Yes, and the idea that you stay there for 20 years is stupid, as we
Jerry,
know.
those terrorist camps, they didn't learn how to get on a Delta flight in a terrorist camp, Jerry.
They learned it
They
in
didn't
Florida.
learn how to do that in Afghanistan. They just got on a plane with box cutters and started slitting people's throats. How about we don't let them do that? Problem solved.
Did you see Muhammad Atta do the monkey bars in that training camp? He was pretty good. He got good at
He
it.
was
He got
pretty
to do-
agile. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he
For
was.
all-
He was. I mean, for
Like a cat.
So, again, I've said it for 1,000 times. I'll say it again. The war in Afghanistan should have lasted 2 months. That's how long it took to blow up all the training camps. We didn't even need anyone on the ground. You could have some of those soldiers, on horseback, like that movie with one of those Chris Hemsworth or Chris something, one of those kind of deals. You send in some guys undercover on horseback to make sure we get all the camps. Then you get out and you track bin Laden, who wasn't in Afghanistan, who was in Pakistan. You track him to the gates of hell and you kill him. You kill anyone around him. You know who should be the leader of the Joint Chiefs? Robert O'Neill. These guys who actually fought. Joey Jones. These
Jesse
guys,
Kelly should be the leader of the
Navy
Joint
SEALs. These guys who were on the ground dealing with the Afghan army, dealing, with all the issues they had on the. I mean, you think Mark Milley is? As someone said yesterday, it was great. In the middle of the press conference, they wanted someone to raise up their hand in the middle of Milley's press conference to say, "Hey, General, could you do 5 push-ups right now? Could you fat slob? Where are you going at lunch today?
Why not? Okay, so I got a
it's just
solution, Jerry.
Anyway, can we play?
Why don't we just?
Yet or not?
Why America? Why are they going to come to America? Why can't we just drop them off in Kenya? They can get jobs, working safaris or something. There's 1,000,001 countries you can drop these people off in. Why is it always America?
Why not Pakistan? They would fit in much better. I mean,
That'll do.
much easier to assimilate, and then you don't have to fly them 8,000 miles. But no, as always, the Democrats see potential future Democrat voters. That's why they're going to be all coming here.
Have they heard about these people's stances on abortion, Jerry? I don't think it's in the bag that much.
Women's rights? Do you think?
Yeah.
trans.
I don't know if they can count on that.
How about transgender rights? You think they? Anyway, let's listen to Mark Milley lie to the world, and then we're going to.
I'm Muhammad Atta, he, him.
The time frame of a rapid collapse that was widely estimated and ranged from weeks to months and even years following our departure. There was nothing that I or anyone else saw that indicated a collapse of this army and this government in 11 days. Central Command submitted a variety of plans that were briefed and approved by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Secretary of Defense, and the President. These plans were coordinated, synchronized, and rehearsed to deal with these various scenarios. One of those contingencies is what we are executing right now. As I said before, there's plenty of time to do AARs and key lessons learned and to delve into these questions with great detail. But right now is not that time. Right now, we have to focus on this mission because we have soldiers at risk.
Okay.
We also have American citizens.
Someone has to be fired. They just have to be fired. It's amazing. The biggest disaster, the biggest debacle in U.S. history, foreign policy disaster. And this guy stands up there like, yeah, no one saw it come. What can you do? What can you do? Let's move on. A guy, by the way, who admitted, he's busy reading Ibrahim Kendi and Robin DiAngelo and rooting out domestic terrorists from the military, checking their tattoos to make sure we don't have any 3%ers in our ranks while the Taliban was busy taking over the country and defeating.
The fact he admitted it right there is the fact that he says he didn't see this coming. That's the fireable offense, that you didn't see it coming.
Because it's a lie. Well, yeah, either way, either you're lying or
you didn't see it coming. Then you're not good at your job. Go find,
and if you did see it coming, you're lying.
See it coming.
All right. Hopefully that fat load gets fired. That's what I'd like to see. But anyway, I get so worked up. It's just going to happen.
You do?
It was 4 days ago. When are we going to just get over it?
Stop asking me that one time.
5 days ago now, which is the most amazing thing, that when he said that, it was only 2 days ago.
All right.
God, is that nuts? But anyway, I got to do some business here. I want to do Shay and do whatever else we got to do, and then we're going to move on. I got a lot to get to. We got to talk about Turtle Boy's big scoop from, was that 2 days ago? 2 days ago, Turtle Boy had a great scoop, but so much else to get to. But first, let me talk about Shay. And I know this isn't a big story in the world, but I have to go revisit Jack Morris, because you and I, Carano and I, talked about Jack Morris and why I hate him yesterday. I predicted this one. Obviously, he's suspended indefinitely. He'll be fired. He has to go to sensitivity training. I mean, there's probably some group, some organization of Asian whatever activists who are demanding his head on a stick, and they're probably going to get it. But if you missed it, did you even hear this, Turtle Boy, hear the sound of what Jack Morris said?
I listened to about 45 minutes of your pod yesterday, Jerry, so I must have missed this part. Your obsession with Jack Morris is interesting. Go ahead.
Okay, Jack Morris, former Hall of Fame pitcher, former Tiger, former Twin.
Didn't make the Hall of Fame. Didn't he miss it on the last ballot? Isn't he the guy? Did he make it?
I think he got in. Borderline. Shouldn't have got in, but he got in. And he's just a total a-hole. But this is what gets you fired now. It's remarkable. We are soft. I mean, we're just soft. If this is, and there were a number of sports writers, I saw a story that demanded he get fired for this. But listen to this and tell me that there's anybody actually offended. Go ahead.
Now what do you do with Shohei Ohtani?
Be very, very careful.
That is it. Be very careful is what he says. It's stupid, it's juvenile, it's ignorant. And I guess him getting suspended or fired is okay because he's an idiot. And, you should know better. But it just, I know the rules are written somewhere, and this violates a rule. You can't do a satirical imitation of an Asian person. You can do a Irish voice. You can do a British voice. You can do a Russian voice. You can do a Southern voice. You could have.
I don't know if you can do a Russian voice. I don't know if you can do a Russian voice.
Oh yes, you can. You can. I mean, I couldn't. But if you did what's the guy that Rocky fights? Drago. You can imitate Drago. Ivan Drago. I break you. I just did it. How's that? Am I going to get in trouble?
No, you're fine.
I shall break you. I shall kill you.
No, Russian is fine.
Russian's fine. You can do dumb Southern redneck voice, of course, and that's okay. But if you do a Asian voice, your career is over. You could do a French voice like Pepe Le Pew, but you can't do an Asian voice for 2 seconds. And again, I hate this guy.
What was he thinking though? Like you, what are you doing?
He's not. He's an idiot, and he wasn't thinking. And he had to come on later and apologize. Wasn't good enough, of course. He's suspended, and he'll be fired because he's really not that valuable. He's not that important. But it is a weird, dichotomy or a weird difference here. We got some voices you can do and some you can't. And Jack Morris, being on air, should have known better, obviously. But do you think anyone's actually offended by that?
No. I can't.
Oh, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
But
I'm just more offended that he's so stupid that he thought that you can get away with that on the Turtle Boy live show on Saturday night, but you're doing a baseball game, like kids are listening. What's wrong with you?
You should know better. So for that, he's going to pay with his job. And he's the type, he's like Don Cherry. When they fire him, he'll go off. He'll say, he'll go off. And if he ever, gets on whatever, a podcast or gets online on Twitter or something, he'll say a lot more stupid things. Just watch. He's that kind of idiot. But all right, let's we got more sports news, by the way.
Oh, right.
Max Kellerman, we've spent years beating up on Max Kellerman. We used to call him Cliff Kellerman because, Tom Brady, he predicted, was going to fall off a cliff and be a bum. That was 3 Super Bowls. I think it was 4 years and 3 Super Bowls ago. No one has ever been more wrong, except, maybe General Milley. No one's ever been more wrong than Max Kellerman saying, and he didn't just say Brady was going to lose it, get old and, lose his, said he's going to be a bum in short order. Well, Max Kellerman is out, reportedly. Our guy Bobby Burke has an interesting story on this because you know why, Max? I think that show's doing well. I think the ratings are good with Stephen A. and Max Kellerman. A couple of liberals talking about how racist everything is.
It's probably the only thing that draws ratings on that.
That's
what
channel. ESPN wants. That's what their bosses want. He's a good, hardcore liberal that anybody that even thought about supporting Trump, he hated the bosses. He hated anybody who didn't hate Trump, which is what you're required to do at ESPN, but he's out. And I don't know if you guys read the reason why, because Stephen A. hates him. Stephen A. hates him. And Bobby Burke has a great piece on how Stephen A. just fakes it and pretends that he likes Kellerman, but behind the scenes, everyone knows he hates him. And he's been working to get his ass, to shove his ass out, and he finally succeeded. And they're talking about having a rotating cast of, woke people. There'll be, I guess you can't have Maria Taylor, but there'll be all
what
these.
What do you hate about him? What do you hate about him? I mean, Max
know.
Kellerman said all the right things for a white guy. All of the right.
Right. Well, I don't know. It's got to be personal because he liked Skip Bayless. In fact, he would have liked to have had him back, but Bayless, I think, re-upped at like $7 million a year at Fox, which is incredible. Skip Bayless making $7 million a year. But I think Patriots fans will revel in the downfall of Max Kellerman, who didn't last as long as Tom Brady, which is remarkable, who predicted Brady would be a bum in short order. All right, we got more sports news here. The Redskins have to come up with a new name, guys. The Redskins are still the WFTs. This is, and I think if you have to give up your name, which is, kind of stupid, they could have kept the
Let's not forget why they did this. This is all for George.
Oh, right. This is George. George, the St. George of fentanyl.
The Patriot State of fentanyl.
But to me, you use it. If you're going to have to force you to change your name, you come up with a good marketing gig. You come up with some new names, some new apparel and, new garb, and you sell it and you make money. I thought that's what
I really thought, I said this off the air, this is not a joke, Jerry. I really thought the plan here with the whole Washington football team for a year, I thought Snyder was just waiting out the woke mob, and then he was going to go right back to being the Redskins. I really thought that was the plan. I thought that was, I applaud him for that if it was the plan. Now that Derek Chauvin's been convicted, the slate should be clean. They should be allowed to go back to Redskins. He should do it. Screw him. It's his team. Go back to Redskins.
I thought he would do something, slightly rebellious. But here's the finalists. They're going to whittle this down to 3, and they're going to milk it as they should. But tell me any of these are any good. The Washington Redskins will soon, WFTs, will soon be one of the following: the Armada, the Brigade, the Commanders, the Defenders, the Presidents, the Red Hogs, the Red Wolves, or the WFTs.
Red Hogs.
I think Red
Redskins.
I think
Red Hogs.
I thought they would continue with Red something because it's just easier for marketing, but I thought it'd be Red Hawks. Red Wolves, is there such a thing as a Red Wolf?
Don't know.
There is now.
Is there such a thing as a Red Hog? Or is it just
that's why I say go for Red Hog. I like that because it kind of sounds you visualize it.
I thought you said
like a Red Hog.
A hog.
That's ridiculous.
And
Red Hawk?
Yeah, Red Hawk would be great.
Oh, no, I like Hog.
You like hogs because they're the hogs. You know what? That would
Red
be
Hogs. Yeah, Red Hogs.
I mean, these names suck. They're not as bad as the Guardians, the Cleveland Guardians.
No, it's
the Swamp Rats, the Washington Swamp Rats.
That would be good. Something. There should be something like that, like the Banana Slugs, the Santa Barbara Banana Slugs. You could be real creative. Instead, Defenders, Commanders, Brigade. Those names all suck. And I guess the name will suck, but at least they'll have a name. You don't have to call them the WFTs anymore, and everyone will be happy. Not the Native Americans who didn't mind the nickname. 90% of them are not offended and are not demanding these teams change their names. But at least we can get past the Redskins, and then they'll move on to the Chiefs and the Warriors and the Braves and get all those other offensive nicknames taken down or canceled. But oh man, we got so much more to get to.
Yankees has to go eventually too.
Yankees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit too colonial.
As I pointed out when the Cleveland Indians became the Guardians, I said the dumbest nickname in sports, and immediately someone tweeted at me and said, "You realize that your local baseball team is named after socks, right?"
It's spelled wrong.
Good point. They're named after socks.
Well, it used to be Red Legs, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they were in
And then they
Washington.
changed- yeah.
They were in Washington, the Red Legs, and which is dumb too. But now was the Red? What were the Reds? Weren't they the Red Legs?
I thought the Red Sox were. I could be wrong.
Whatever. They're all dumb, but whatever. At least they're.
That is a stupid name.
At least you got some tradition. All right. You want to do Naomi Osaka, or you want to do Turtle Boy? I know what he's
Turtle
going
Boy. Naomi Osaka sucks. We discussed it. There she is. She's fragile.
All right, quickly before we get to Turtle Boy, Naomi Osaka broke down crying because a guy asked a perfectly appropriate question, and her agent attacked the reporter who was like, "What? I just asked a question. She can't handle. She's like Joe Biden. She can't handle a question that if it's not, even if it's friendly, she can't handle it." But apparently, her anxiety around the media is legit. At least it looked legit. It's amazing that she could be a really clutch tennis player and not be able to handle the pressure of a couple of media questions. But let's do the Joy Reid thing quickly because it ties in, Turtle Boy's crusade against masks and against the COVID panic, which is out of control. As we talked about yesterday, they're arresting people and putting them in prisons in Australia for internment camps. And in New Zealand, they shut down the island of 5 million people for one case, not one death, one case. Nobody's dying. So these tyrants.
They're happy to do it there too.
They are happy to do it
on that. Because that's their thing. They are zero COVID, and it's an island with no immigration. So they have the ability to be like zero COVID. If one case gets there, they could be like, we can literally just eliminate this by shutting you down, making sure that one guy doesn't have it, and then problem solved.
Why don't they just do like Dawn of the Dead or the Walking Dead and just kill him?
I think
guy gets diseased, it's like a zombie. They just shoot him with a shotgun and be
that
done.
Escalated quickly.
To say, hey, we don't have, look, now we have no cases.
Well, I never thought it would get this far. I mean,
but the big story in the next few days, next couple of weeks is going to be New York City, where people who don't have their papers will not be allowed to do anything. They'll not be allowed to eat. You can't go in a grocery store or a restaurant. They will have to exist on hot dog stands in Central Park. And many of them are African Americans or Hispanics. So we have a racist system in New York that is denying.
Kids. What about kids? 9-year-olds can't go out in New York anymore?
I'm sure they're not required to show their papers. I mean, you can't get a vaccine if you're
They don't have papers.
Well, they will if they get vaccinated. They get a paper, but now they won't.
There is no vaccine for 9-year-olds.
Okay, so they could go to. What do you think the answer to that is, Turtle Boy?
Obviously, I don't know. It's just like so they can't spread it. So like, what are they trying to stop here? Are they admitting that kids can't spread COVID? Is that what they're admitting?
Okay, this has nothing to do with kids. This is adults who are not being allowed in grocery stores or restaurants without their papers. I'm sure if adult has a vaccine card, he could bring his 9-year-old son or daughter with him. No problem. It's not about children. It's about de Blasio denying people the right to live their lives if they don't get this experimental injection. You can't go to New York City, Turtle Boy, because if you do, you won't be able to eat. Think of that.
No, I was just there a couple weeks ago too. That's a damn. Oh, just bring your fake ID, Jerry. I'm making fake vaccine cards. I don't care. Clip this FBI. Do what you want. It's really easy. Someone sent me a PDF. Literally, have you seen the vaccine cards? They don't even require a signature. You just write in the brand, the date, your name. It's not like they know what the handwriting of the woman at Walgreens looks like, or that gave you the freaking I mean, I'm in New York a couple weeks ago, went to some museum. They're giving out vaccines in the museum. Like they know what the handwriting looks like of every person who gives out a vaccine. I got fake IDs. Call me if you need one.
You know why I think you can get away with that is because the restaurants and the bars and pizza shops and coffee shops, they don't want to do this. They're being forced by this buffoon de Blasio to do it. So they're not going to put their best effort into checking
Exactly.
vaccine IDs, vaccine passports. I mean, some might. There might be some fanatics, but I think for the most part, they're just going to give it a glance and say, you're good. But there will be people arrested. There's been a few already arrested for fake vaccine cards. And you know how that works. They're going to be like January 6th insurrectionists. These are enemies of the state. The Biden regime is going to come down hard. And the blue state tyrants, de Blasio and Whitmer and Baker, they're going to come down hard on fake vaccine IDs. So be ready, Turtle Boy. You could end up, in that DC. You could end up in that DC prison singing the national anthem.
The police showed up at my house the other day with another restraining order. It's my life. Right. Bring it on.
Which is amazing. All right, quickly play Joy Reid. Here's the media. All you need to know about the media's reaction to COVID. The breaking news that Governor Abbott in Texas tested positive. Governor Abbott, who's been vaccinated, who's done all the things he's supposed to do, he gets COVID. He'll probably be fine because he's been vaccinated. But check out Joy Reid's reaction to the news that how Abbott tested positive.
All right. And still ahead, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has tested positive for COVID. Ta-da!
She says, ta-da, because a Republican tested positive for COVID. Imagine how happy she's going to be if he dies. I mean, he's got issues. He's paralyzed in a wheelchair. He could have some real bad reaction, and she'll be thrilled. She'll be giddy. That's the quiet part out loud for the Democrats and the media.
Ta-da.
Ta-da.
What?
Ta-da.
Ta-da. You have polio. Ta-da.
She's so happy. That's not even.
Did you say that when someone gets a smoker gets lung cancer? Ah, ta-da. Told you.
What's she going to do if DeSantis ever tests positive? Oh, my God. There'll be like confetti falling from the ceiling, and they'll have noisemakers and party hats at MSNBC. Yes, DeSantis has got
COVID. They did the same
COVID.
thing when Trump got it. It's like, and literally every time one of our people gets COVID, it proves our point for them. When these out of shape wheelchair bound guys get COVID and they're fine, and it just kind of proves, what the hell are we hiding from? Stop it. This is COVID. I'm scared of COVID. What's wrong with you?
Did you say you have plans to speak at another school board meeting?
I spoke last night, Jerry. We are fomenting. So they attempted not to let us speak last night. Ooh. And we would not let it stand. They said, well, you could have one speaker because you're all going to talk about the same thing. I said, no. This person's talking about choice. I'm talking about totalitarianism. We're all talking about different aspects of you tyrants. They tried to silence us, and we wouldn't be silenced. We all spoke. I gave my whole speech. One of the members, Jerry, I'm going to write about this today. One of the members actually said that she didn't feel comfortable voting on this because she was scared of the crowd. And so I said, I got up there, we don't bite. I know you think we're all disease-infested parasites, but we live in your community too. We're not here to bite you. We just don't want our kids to be abused. Stop abusing our kids.
Matt Walsh got a lot of mileage out of his appearance in Nashville, as did Clay Travis. I don't think you're getting enough credit for this, Turtle Boy. You're leading the resistance in a deep blue state. It's easy to do it.
And it's working. We might win this, Jerry. The superintendent didn't have a mask on. If we win this, this will be one of my greatest victories of all time.
Did you notice, did the school board members do it for theater again? Did they walk in without a mask and then put it on?
That woman's comment made it pretty clear that they are going to defer to the superintendent, and he was not wearing a mask, and that was positive. If we scared them into not voting, then I have done my job, Jerry.
But I mean, this is not, a lot of what you do is just for show. Let's be honest. This is real, man. You got a 6-year-old that you're trying to keep, allow her to breathe. That's your goal. You want your child to breathe.
Yes.
I know, that's asking a lot. You want your child to breathe.
I know.
At a first day of school. This is worth fighting for. This is worth.
Absolutely. If not this, then whatever. And it's happening across the country. Like you said, Clay Travis, Matt Walsh, it's happening. I might do this for hire. I was invited to speak at one in Billerica soon. I might just start traveling around yelling at people's school committees. That might be my thing.
I retweeted this morning. Is an amazing story of a 2-year-old girl. It's a girl on a flight. I can't even tell if it's a girl or boy. 2-year-old girl on a Southwest Airlines flight, and she wouldn't put the mask on because she had to suck her thumb, which I understand. I do that too on a flight when you get a little nervous. And the flight attendant told the mother to just glue the mask to her face. And it went, and obviously the mother didn't hold back. She went nuts, ripping Southwest Airlines. But check this out. The flight attendant says either glue the mask to her face or cut a little hole in it for her thumb. Is there a better example or a more
Theater
proof that that it's just theater? First of all, can you believe that in America, I can't believe this is America. We're ordering 2-year-olds to cover their mouth and nose for theater. I mean, no one believes the 2-year-old is going to pass some virus on to anybody. No one believes the 2-year-old is a threat to kill the person in the next seat. Everyone knows there's no point in this other than to force people to submit and comply. And I'm not saying the flight attendant is getting off on this kind of control. The person who's ordering the flight attendant to do it is, whether it's a government official or an airline official. The idea that in America, we're kicking people off flights if they don't force their 2-year-old to obstruct, their breathing is so insane. How do we get to this point, Turtle Boy, when you're like a rebel because you want your 6-year-old to breathe, and these absolute fools, these
they're cult members, Jerry. They're following. It's really simple. It's Fauci. They're all just this is a big game of Fauci says. Fauci Simon says. He tells them to do something, and they do it. They literally are worshiping a god. He has told them to mask. They're going to mask. He says mask the kids. They're going to mask the kids.
And we talked about last week that woman in Nebraska or Oklahoma, school board member who said you don't have a right to murder other children. Talking about an 8-year-old kid who wants to go to school without a mask. So this woman, and we've said this many times, wants children to believe that if they don't mask up, they could murder their friend. It's the worst kind of child abuse. Oh, I shouldn't say the worst. It is child abuse, as you've said, as Matt Walsh has said, to scare kids to the point where they think if they don't obstruct their own breathing, they might kill their best friend at on the bus. How do we allow adults to do that kind of abuse, inflict that kind of abuse on kids?
Things have been too good too long here. People are fat and happy living off the dole of the government, so they're just letting it happen.
And that's what it comes down to, man. It's just people are just we need a good plague. We need like a big war, something, a famine to like toughen us up. What a soft society this is, hiding from a virus. Give me a break.
You say you tell a child that if she doesn't obstruct her, wrap her face in cloth, she might kill her friend, an 8-year-old who's impressionable, who's going to believe you if you're a grown-up. You could murder your friend. So you're totally warping this child's mind, and you're the one that is protected by big tech. So if you disagree with that lunatic who says that, you could get deplatformed. If you agree with her and say, yes, 2-year-olds, you should glue the mask to the 2-year-old's face, you're good with Jack Dorsey.
But cut a hole in it. People are insane.
Well, maybe maybe she was kidding. I don't know. Cut a hole in it. Which to me, good. Cut a hole in it. Make the kid happy. We know that doesn't have anything to do with health, public health. It's just amazing to me. I think we're going to remember this forever, how we have lied and warped the minds of children into thinking that they could kill their friends when we know that doesn't affect children. We know children don't get it, don't give it. That doesn't matter. It means, here's a scary thought, Turtle Boy. What if the next virus that's created in a lab in China, financed, subsidized by Dr. Fauci, kills children, but not old people?
What if it spreads 9 feet? Then instead of just 6. I mean, there's a lot of what ifs here. You're right. This is like the softest virus ever. Right. And we're all hiding from it. What if like a slightly more serious one comes along?
What if it actually does affect children? Right now, we've scared the hell out of kids because of a virus that doesn't affect them. What are we going to do to kids if there's a virus that does affect them? We're just going to be in madness. We're going to have, like you said it, internment camps where people test positive. We're going to put them in bubbles and put them on islands, and it's just going to be madness. I can't believe how we've reacted to a virus.
We need fat camps, Jerry. That's what we need. There's a reason that Japan has a much lower fatality rate with this, because they got less fat people. If we really care about our citizens, we will just do that. It means it's time for fat camp. It
Well,
is.
I think we're going to remember this as in reaction to a virus that affects fat people, obese people. We closed the gyms and made sure McDonald's and Burger King stayed open. That was our
Basically,
reaction.
sums it up.
Right, and that sums it up right there. But you can check out Turtle Boy's blog on his fight. He is William Wallace. He's leading the revolution against masking children. I know Matt Walsh is getting all the credit and getting all the likes from.
He doesn't have kids in public school. He's not in the
Good
fight
point.
like I am.
Good point. And he didn't give you any credit when you had that big scoop that we talked about last week. But you could check him out at TB Daily News. There were a couple of good blogs this week, a couple of great stories. So read Turtle Boy, follow him on Twitter. We will talk to you next week.
Before we go, call out. We're looking for studio space along the.
What does he care about that?
Well, not Turtle Boy.
Okay, we're
talking. We're telling
we
the
can
world.
talk. We can say bye to Turtle Boy, and then you.
Oh, I'm
This
sorry.
is my studio. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I guess we're kicking him out.
All right, Turtle Man. Thanks. Good job.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, what did you want to say?
I thought we were signing off. That's why I cut in like that. I apologize.
Don't I always say something like thank you, thank the people for watching, listening?
I don't know your patterns yet. I'm still working this out.
What would you like to say?
I just wanted to, so you and I talked about, so we're looking for studio space somewhere either in Boston or north on the 95 corridor, maybe like Peabody-ish.
Maybe like Somerville.
Sure.
Or somewhere iconic.
So it can be, it doesn't need to be huge. We talked about, if it was a potential advertiser too, if you have a company and you have extra space in there, a room, maybe 300 square feet where we can have, our setup in there and a desk in there. Maybe there's some sort of trade that we could work out as well.
We had a great setup pre-COVID at the Legacy Club, as I told you, but we would have to
keep our stuff there.
We had to set up every day. Cullen did every morning, and then take it all down because we were at the bar and the bar was used. And so we need a place we can set up and leave it set up.
Yeah,
that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, want it to look good, want it to sound good. So that means a space that we can set up and keep it there, and nothing changes from a day to day, and it's not your basement.
All right. Anything else? You still looking for an intern? Anything else you want to mention?
No, found a couple. I think who will begin next week.
All right, good. Looking forward to it. And we're going to actually meet them and hang out with them, or they're just going to work. They're going to work remotely like everyone else.
I don't know.
Right,
we'll figure it out.
All right, we gotta wrap this up, Carano. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. It's Thursday, so I like to mention you could go to Apple, and you could give us a review. You could give us a 5-star review.
5 stars.
You can't ask for a review unless it's 5 stars.
It has to be 5 stars.
You can make it 4.5 if you want, but whatever. You could write a review, give us a rating, tell us what you think, make fun of Carano, give us some suggestions. You can do all that on Apple, or you could, do it on the comments, which I can't read.
Well, we'll get. When we have a studio set up, I'll be able to get you.
You're going to be able to pull out a couple of comments, and we'll be able to read them. Correct?
Yes, absolutely. Well, you'll be able to see them too. Yeah,
excellent.
Of course.
But we will work on that for next week, and we're working on a really, really good guest that I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, start of early next week. All right. That will do it for today. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we will talk to you again very soon.